Hey everybody, happy Wednesday, and congratulations on finishing midterms. It's a huge accomplishment to get that far, and I do find that most of the time, everyone who completes once people have completed their midterms, they complete the course. So we are on our way. This is a special edition of the midweek check-in called the Computer Crash edition, because on Monday, you guessed it, my computer crashed. And I don't know why it is, but this is the time of year when computers crash. Like that last 2 weeks in the semester when everything is desperate and everyone is sleep deprived, this is when it would happen. So I want you to ask yourselves, I did this with my intro class, and I want you to ask yourselves a couple of questions. Okay, first of all, what is your method of backup? I now work in the cloud, which has saved me an enormous amount of pain and suffering. Everything that I do is in Google Drive, and so if a machine dies, I'm right back up on it. And I have all my documents, and I haven't missed anything. The other thing that I do is I also have a hard copy, a memory stick that I back up on, and that is in case of some other sort of event. I always joke like zombie apocalypse, but there are a lot of annoying ways that you can get sort of disconnected from your passwords, and from software and things like that. So it's always good to have, or you don't have access to the internet for whatever reason, it's always good to have another method. So redundancy is my lesson for that. I do want you to all take some time and think about this though. What would happen if your computer were to crash today, right now? What files would you lose? What programs would you lose? What passwords and accounts would you lose and have trouble getting logged into? Now is the time to take care of all of those things, because I'm telling you, this is the time of year when your computer will crash. So just a little bit, I know it's a basic skill thing, but really think about what would happen right now if my computer died. Am I prepared? And what do I need to do to be prepared? Because it'll take you 5 minutes now, or be a world of tears later. Now, the other good news is that we all finished the midterms, and I'm really excited about them. They look great. I will have the grades posted by Friday at the latest, and we are rounding into the home stretch. Remember, now's the time to turn your attention to the final for some of your project work. You will be getting another more extensive rubric that explains exactly what you need to do. Just gives you some more details on how I'll be evaluating the project, and I find it's really helpful for students. So that's coming up. Don't forget about the discussion boards this week. I know there's so much other exciting stuff going on, but we're also talking about open letters, and about leaderless collectives. The open letter I really put in because I think that either an open letter or petition is a really good way of addressing the final. You could also choose to, there's a number of things that you can do, and I don't restrict it because I do want you to be creative. And I really encourage you to pick an issue that is meaningful to you personally. In women's studies, we have actually, I shouldn't say in women's studies, I should say feminist activists have a phrase that they use, and they say that the personal is political. So if you're looking for an issue of, or some outlet for your energies in terms of social change, sometimes you don't need to look any further than yourself. Think about what issues affect you the most. And try to think about how the small issues in your life might be connected to a larger landscape. How could they be connected to the power structures of corporations, of governments? How could you work on something small that might begin to have an effect on the world that you live in? And I'll caution you, of course, to have appropriate expectations. This is a final for a class. No one has ever changed the world in 1 week, single-handedly anyway. But you really can get started with something that might find an audience someday, and get some solid experience if you ever do decide to work in, for example, a nonprofit field, or an advocacy group. This is a really good experience to have. Um, what else? I think that's pretty much all I have. Um, I am having an interesting discussion in terms of women in religion. Tasha brought up the idea that under God is in the Pledge of Allegiance. And many of you might not know that that was actually written in the 50s as part of anti-communism, because one of the pieces of communist philosophy is the abolition of religion. And the United States in the 1950s wanted to distance ourselves from all things communist. And in fact, at that time, we were rooting out all communists among us, which was quite a few people, because a lot of people belonged to CPUSA, the Communist Party USA, in the 30s and 40s. So Congress added under God as a way of differentiating us from communists. And I think it's important to note, because we think about these things that define us as Americans as being stable somehow, as being conceptualized by our forefathers. But in a lot of cases, we have a specific history, and when you dig a little bit deeper, sometimes the explanations are more complicated than what we were taught in high school. So keep going, keep asking questions. We are in the home stretch. And I will be around if anybody needs anything. See you on the discussion boards.